everybody? My name is Pete Ferrari, and I am the creator of the SuperSelf Lifestyle Enrichment Program. Been developing and vetting this application over almost 40 years. What this program does is it's designed to help good people like you identify, chart, track, and meet and exceed all of your diet and fitness objectives. We'll get to that. Let's start with a little bit of background, a little bit about me. I was born basically into nothing. Lower middle class, outside of Hartford, Connecticut. My dad had a very serious problem with hard drugs. And for those of you that were around in the 70s, you probably know what drug I'm talking about. I'm really not going to get into that. But suffice to say, he took off on my mom and my brother and me when I was 7 and my little brother was 4. My mom had a high school education. She had been a housewife. Obviously, this threw us into extreme poverty. The kind of poverty where you don't eat every day. The kind of poverty where you don't have heat in the winter in the north and you're freezing a lot of the time. I realize everybody probably giving a big sigh right now. Oh, poor Pete. That's not why I tell you this. I tell you this because it is relevant. It's relevant because when I was growing up, I was small, I was weak, we were poor. This was an absolute recipe for disaster. I didn't have any confidence. I didn't have anybody to guide me. I didn't have any help. I didn't know if I was any good. I didn't know if I had any potential. I didn't even dare to dream. I just was lost. And the way that translated physically every day at school, all the way through my junior year of high school, I got my ass beaten every single day. Now back 40 years ago, all the boys, everybody fought. If you wanted to look cool, if you wanted to impress a girl, if you wanted to intimidate somebody, you fought. That's just the way you did things. Well, I had no father to teach me how to fight. I had no friends to protect me. I had no guidance. So basically every day outside of my last class, whatever boy wanted to be a tough guy or whatever girl was trying to be impressed, they'd all meet me outside of my last class. And right when I walked out, they would dump my books and they would beat my ass. And that's something that happened every single day. I went home on the bus, broken and bleeding every single day. And that's where my intimacy, my relationship with physical fitness started. I started lifting junior year in high school, 37 years ago, so that I could get stronger to protect myself against bullies. That was the baseline. But what I got from that, what is transcended and translated all throughout my life, what I got from that was much, much more. We'll get back to that. Fast forward to college. I was still poor. I didn't have any money. I knew I needed to go to college. I put myself through the University of Connecticut, top 10 business school. I had to sleep in my car at certain points. I couldn't afford the room and board portion of tuition. Back then it was only $2,500. So $2,500 for tuition, $2,500 for room and board for a year. I didn't have it, so I had to sleep in my car. It set the tone for what would be the rest of my life. Discipline, drive, ambition. And I will also share with you that while I was at UConn, I decided to walk on and play lacrosse. The first organized game of lacrosse I ever played in my life with referees on a field was in college. I couldn't play high school sports when I was growing up. I had to go to work in the tobacco fields in our town when I was 12 years old in order to make money to hopefully pay the rent on that shack we lived in, or maybe have a meal every couple of days. So I couldn't play high school sports. I walked on my freshman year. By the time I was a senior, I started, okay? This entire time, I'm going to college. I'm putting myself through school. I'm working. I'm playing lacrosse. I never, never, never stopped lifting weights. I never stopped maintaining my physical fitness. First year out of college, got a job in sales, was doing pretty good. Then I lost a sale to this new kind of company in the telephone service market space, commercial telephone service back then. I lost a sale to this company. And I said to myself, wait a minute. I can build that kind of company on my own. I can do this. So I'm 22 years old. I'm living in the basement of the shack we lived in. I've got student loan debt up to my neck. I drop everything, quit my job, start United States Telephone. 2 years later, sold it for $500,000, moved to Atlanta. This was when I was 25 years old. Also, when I was 21, I started powerlifting competitively. I became a powerlifting champion many, many times over. In fact, I never came in second place in a powerlifting championship that I entered. So think about to that point in my life, 25 years old, beaten up every day, started lifting weights to get strong, put myself through college, started as a lacrosse player, started and was building my first company. Why did I do all those things? I did all those things because I had a lot of people to prove wrong. That's why I did those things. Do you have anybody that you need to prove wrong with regard to your situation, your physical fitness, your physical prowess? So since then, I've built many companies in many industries. Real estate development business, application software business in the client server days in the 90s coming up in Atlanta, internet businesses in states from Connecticut to Massachusetts to Georgia to California to Florida. I've been fortunate, I've gone bust. Going bust is a part of life. And those are just general trials and tribulations that I think everybody is faced with. Now the difference, all throughout those ebbs and flows, those highs and lows, those peaks and valleys, I never stopped lifting. I never stopped doing cardio. I never stopped dieting. Why? Because that same power base that stopped me from getting my ass kicked when I was a teenager was the same power base that enabled me to quit my job and start a company when I was hugely in debt. That same power base was going to be what dug me out when I was at the lowest of my low, in dire straits. Now, what I've found over the last 20 years as it relates to this, maybe I've evolved, or maybe I've just matured, but what I've found is I wasn't doing all these things, the powerlifting competitions, building of companies, starting a family. I wasn't doing all these things to prove people wrong. I was doing these things to prove something to myself. That's why I was doing these things. I knew I could do it. And I knew I could do it because the internal power that was emanating from me through my physical fitness, my mentality that came from my physical fitness, I just had the feeling. Is it time for you to start something new here as well? Have you already started, but you want to hit a new level? I can do all of this. I've been doing this for 37 years. I've seen many, many people come into my purview under my guidance and absolutely create the best version of themselves. Now, I've also seen a lot of people, as I started this company or as I began to build a company about a year ago, I've also seen a lot of people who are lost. And the reason they're lost is not their fault. The reason that they're lost is because of what I call noise. There is a ton of noise in this space, overwhelming amounts of noise from every single angle. Keto all-fat diet, Oprah Winfrey and Nutrisystems, protein powder, creatine, the Instagram Insta star, 20 years old, who has 1 million followers but looks good on video. Your friend is doing this program. Your boss is doing intermittent fasting. Your friend is doing this other thing. There is so much noise out there that how could you possibly know where to start? How could you possibly know what's right for you? It's not your fault. But here are the things you do know. You do know you need to exercise. We all know that we need to exercise. You do know that you want to be healthy. You want to either get your health back or you want to complement your existing health. We do know that you want to live longer to be around your family. We do know that everybody wants to feel confident and powerful, whether you are going to be gaining that confidence for the first time in your life or whether you are going to be building on that confidence that you have now. Even more simplistic, you want your clothes to fit better. When the belt is loose, that's a feeling. Feels good. Puts you in a good mood. sexy at the pool, sexy in the clubhouse, sexy when you're out to dinner with your wife. Everybody wants to feel attractive. You want to be the best version of yourself. You want to create or awaken your super self. We can do this. We can do this. It doesn't matter how many times you try. I actually hope you've tried a number of different methods. I hope you've sought out a number of different means, because from my perspective, all of those paths determined that you landed right here where you are with me right now. This journey starts now. We're going to leverage common sense. We're going to leverage fundamentals. We're going to have a bit of patience, and we're going to transform some lives. One of my favorite quotes of all time, I have lived my life by this quote, General George Patton: "A good plan violently executed today is far better than a perfect plan executed next week."